To start with, I wanted to talk about, because this is what came up this week, talk about force-placed insurance. And that's where a lender has to go out and get insurance because suddenly the property has no insurance. So if you don't have a loan against your property, you probably have never heard of this, probably won't ever run into it because it's all on you to make sure your property's insured or not insured. But if there's a lender involved, they want to make sure the property's insured. And you as an investor, of course, would want to make sure the property's insured, but you have a lot more choices than if a lender is kind of watching. So normally your insurance renews every year, and if you have an impound account, the lender is going to want to pay that bill. And so usually about 60 days before the due date of the renewal, the lender starts reaching out or expects to see a renewal bill. And usually your insurance company does send that right around 60 days before the renewal date. So what lenders do is, not all lenders, but some lenders will hire a third-party inspector to go out to the property and just look to see what condition it's in. And not all lenders do this, but a lot do. And especially in this environment, I've been seeing a lot more third-party inspections going on. Not so much about COVID, but about the wildfires and the tornado, all the natural disaster type things that are going on. They're more cautious about inspecting properties. So anyway, so they hire this third-party inspector who does not go inside normally. They just do like a perimeter check. And so they're looking for the branches of trees touching the roof line, or the roof line not being looking funny or something being wrong. They also look for even grass being too high or dry grass. They're looking for things that are like risk to them, right? So it could be it's a number of things that they're looking at. So, and then if there's possible evidence of a problem inside, then they can request from your property manager or from you for an interior inspection, but that is super, super rare because that costs more money for one thing. The inspectors get something like $150 to drive the property. So anyhow, so then the inspector provides their findings, and you don't even know really when this inspector went because they're on the outside of the building, so they drive by some random day. It is usually, I would say, 3 months before, 2 months before, right around that 60-day renewal time for the insurance. So let's say you don't have impounds, then they won't find out that you don't have insurance for a while. Because if you don't have impounds, the insurance company doesn't necessarily have a contact to the lender. Now, they do have the address for the servicer. If you look at your insurance policy, there's going to be a loss payee on there, and that's the lender's verbiage for their name and address and all that kind of stuff. So if there is an insurable happening, something happens to the building that you can do a claim on, the lender and you are both going to be on that insurance check. So that's something to know too, because let's say there's a fire and you have to rebuild and so on and so forth, the insurance company is actually going to cut that check to both you and the lender. And I've had people show up in my office because they didn't know how to get that money into their account, because of course if there's someone else on the check as a payee on the check, how are you going to cash it, right? It's not all yours. So what happens is you actually have to get the lender to endorse it to you, and then you get to deposit it. So just keep that in mind if you ever do have an insurable event and you are getting reimbursed. It's not going to be all you on that check. You're going to have to get the lender's sign off on it. So force-placed insurance is when either you didn't renew or you got canceled for some reason. You don't have insurance, and that almost happened to me on one of my buildings in Florida in August. I was having trouble getting the insurance company to renew just because insurance companies all across the country are canceling, and I'll get to that in a second because it's not really about force-placed insurance. So force-placed insurance is where the lender goes out and gets some minimal policy, so it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that you would have on your insurance. And they will obviously have to pay a lot of money because there's no interior inspection. They're just trying to get minimal coverage as fast as they can. So typically these policies are 3 to 4 times the cost of your kind of regular run-of-the-mill insurance. So let's say normally your insurance policy would be $1,100 a year. It could easily be $3,000 or $4,000 a year for this insurance policy. So you want to get insured as fast as you can and get that to the lender. So what happened with my insurance is my insurance was coming due in August. That insurance broker that I use was still looking for a good policy. She was not finding anything. My insurance went from, I think it was like $11,200 last year to $12,500. And it started at $8,800 or $81 or $8,800. I think it was $8,800 with the broker fee in there. So it's expensive. So she was trying to find a better alternative and she didn't find any. So we reinsured like 2 days before the due date. And so of course the lender got notice that it expired and did not even reach out to the insurance company. And they sent me a letter saying they were going to force place insurance. So I immediately faxed it over, got the insurance agent to also fax it over to the lender. And yeah, they have no record of the lender ever even reaching out to them. The lender just said, oh, it expired, right? So you want to be very careful with insurance policies, and lenders do not do a very good job at following up unless they're impounding because they're responsible for the payment. See, my property in Florida, I impound taxes, but not insurance. So anyhow, so that is the story about insurance. And then the other thing I want to mention is all insurance companies pretty much are re-examining whether they want to be in a certain market or not. So I got notice that my umbrella policy company is completely pulling out of California. So, and my insurance agent didn't want to tell me, the Zenkers didn't want to tell me till they had a backup, and they were searching and searching and searching and searching. Now, this is not my personal umbrella. These are commercial umbrellas that are over the buildings. So the two Long Beach 14-unit buildings, I have insurance on them, but I also have a commercial umbrella above that. And so those policies went from $1,100 a year to something like, well, one went to $1,600 and one went to $1,700. I'm guessing it must be based on income. But anyway, my policies went up to $3,100 a year instead of, it was like $2,200 or something like that. And I have each entity pay their own insurance policy. But yeah, that's a big jump. And they said that was the cheapest they could find. So, so insurance companies are pulling out of all kinds of, completely pulling out of some states, but then also deciding not to insure certain kinds of properties or certain kinds of coverages that used to be so easy to get. So anyway, so that's it for insurance. Just, kind of watch your insurance policies. I mean, it's tough when you're running a business, which we are as investors running a business. It's hard when a bill can go up, 30 or 50% more than the previous year. You start making decisions about whether those numbers even make sense anymore. Do you ride it out? Now, we're in a certain time right now where insurance companies could have huge payouts coming, right? Like some might go bankrupt, right? So, to make decisions now kind of silly because things might calm down next year or the year before. But if they don't, if this becomes the norm, then you have to decide, does it make sense to, invest in a high risk area like Southern Florida or, I don't know. That's the only example I can come with. But anywhere where there's natural disasters ongoing, you may have trouble making the numbers work going forward.